Men of Reddit, what is one thing that you keep from your so that could end the relationship? The reason we are together today is because I called to reconnect a couple years after we broke up. I thought I was calling someone else. Sometimes when she is not around I buy chocolate, eat it and don't save some for her. Sometimes I watch shows we're watching together without her because she is super extroverted and wants to talk to me during. It usually starts as us discussing plot details and always ends up evolving into her trying to give an entire TED Talk. I enjoy having short exchanges of thoughts about the plot, but I prefer to watch and enjoy the story and then discuss it after. We've talked about it and she understands how I feel but inevitably ends up doing it again. She would be upset if she found out, but it allows both of us to enjoy the show the way we both want to. Nothing. I just want my GF to think I'm adding something to the thread. I told her the question and now she's trying not to be bothered, but I can tell she's curious. Edit. Spelling. Edit 2. Wow. Did not expect this blowing up, but I can't thank you all enough. You made her way more curious about it. We were running errands and I had no idea it was blowing up. I keep my phone on my vent and she noticed some Reddit notifications popping up frequently and started getting curious. She didn't take me seriously till she noticed those. Then I opened it and looked at her. It has over 1,000 upvotes. So I had to show her and she just said I'm dumb, and that's kinda sweet too. I thought it was hilarious tbh. I am actually just 3 raccoons in a trench coat. So where we live, you can write your name and number on milk cartons and throw it with rest of the paper trash for recycling. You win money if your carton gets pulled. My wife is really into it at make sure to write her name and number on every one. And if I'm the one to throw one, I write her name and number for her, and she is thankful for it. Now, I don't recall what she did, but it had me really annoyed at her. I had finished a carton of milk and cleaned it out and folded it for disposal. This is probably the most petty thing I've ever done in our relationship. As a way to get back at her, I wrote my name and my number instead of hers. I'm taking it to the grave. Edit. Wow. Thank you for the gift. Edit 2. And thank you all for the awards. I didn't expect my silly little story of my pettiness to be my most upvoted and awarded Reddit interaction. If I prioritized myself in the relationship similar to how she does, there would be no relationship. Slite. I let the dogs in the room. They aren't allowed sometimes. I think she knows, but she's threatened to kill me before leaving me, so who knows. Sometimes I go to the movies without my wife because I'm a huge movie buff and fan of the theater experience. And she can't stand still for the movie long enough to pay attention. I get the big popcorn tub and soda with ice cream to top it off. Edit. This is by the most upvotes. I've had so much mahalos for everyone who has upvoted this post. I love my wife very much. Aloha. Our extremely high-maintenance child has crippled our relationship. I really think we are both thinking this but don't say it. I swear, I admit to something on one single thread and then afterwards all I see are posts geared towards it. Some of the things my mental illnesses make me think that would make her worry needlessly. I don't want my internal issues to become a burden on her. How much money I spent restoring my '69 Camaro. She knows it was a lot, but has no idea how much. To be fair, majority of it was paid for with cash I had before we were married, but it's a lot. Printer ink. PTSD, the demons and nightmares from being in the army. I've learned to hide them well and to fake that I'm okay. I learned the hard way that being that vulnerable with somebody who claims to love me but actually used those things against me is something I'll never do again. Sounds cliché, but nothing. We all have out little fibs and lies of omission. But never, ever keep secrets that could have lasting consequences. If she would be legitimately upset to find out about it, to the point where it could actually harm your relationship, then you shouldn't be keeping it from her. If you screwed up, the lie might actually be worse than the offense. And honesty goes a long way if you are asking for forgiveness. My wife told me something early on in our relationship that I've never forgotten. There are very few mistakes I think can't be forgiven, but don't ever let me catch you lying. For her, mistakes are often just that. Accidents or poor decisions made in the moment. Lies are intentional and disrespectful. Me and the kids have a more pleasant weekend when she goes away. It's like a blanket of calm envelopes us and we have a great time. She knows it but she doesn't know it. We miss her and all, but when she comes home it's like the kids start to argue with each other and the baby cries a little bit more. I get a little bit annoyed. I hide it though, but you know. We had a lovely weekend and it's over. Edit. Just to be clear, I am a dad that is home 4 o'clock every single workday and I am involved with my kids. I cook all our meals and are as big of a presence in our house as she is. I also sleep with the baby every night cause that is what works best for us. So the kids are most likely not very insecure with me. Her mother is the cougar that I've dreamt about ever since I was 13. In a few years your son might be that cougar. Playing the long game. Sometimes I watch shows alone because I want to enjoy things without each scene or line having a 75% chance of being followed by sarcasm or a joke. I love her humor, but sometimes it will detract from things I find sentimental or sad. I want to feel things too. That I will say I'm going to be a few minutes late from my job, but in reality, I want to go get fast food but not spend $40 getting it for the family. I eat it all before I get home and then dispose of the evidence. Honestly, I'm such a jealous guy. I am working on it with my therapist, but I'm jealous to the point where when she's at work my brain tells me that she's actually out doing something with someone. Luckily my therapist has taught me how to deal with those thoughts though. Nice try, so. If I were to be absolutely honest, it would be the depth of my depression. My wife is great, but I don't think she can handle this. She don't know that I spent months late last year and into this one crying every single day. I would find a few minutes to myself in the shower, in the bathroom, or just a few moments at work and I'd just think about how hopeless things were and how unhappy I was. I keep fighting the depression and most days are better than bad, but the bad days are soul-crushing. I keep putting up a happy face because our kids, but I'm afraid that this is going to crash me someday. If you're holding on to your last thread for the sake of the kids, then get some therapy for the sake of the kids. I went to school with a girl whose father killed himself after everyone else was away for the day. Family didn't know he was depressed at all, and his body was found in the woods behind the house after they were looking for him for hours. No child should see that. If you're holding on for them, get help while you can still justify it to yourself in your current state of mind. It leaves some nasty aftermath. Well, having been in the mental hell that you are currently in, having made the excuses, and having clawed my way out of that nightmare and into relative normality, let me be blunt and give you your reason. Depression will keep you making those excuses until you finally have the mental self-acceptance of I am not getting better by doing this alone, and I need to get myself some professional help. Let me be perfectly clear, I am not intending to be an asshole for kicks here. I just know that the tangled field of razor wire that is the depressive brain has only one effective path through. Unfortunately, being hit with the verbal equivalent of a brick wall tends to help better than all the coddling that normal people give people like us. Think of this: if your kids find what's left of you before someone else does, they'll be the ones needing therapy. If your wife finds what's left of you, she may follow suit in a moment of intense grief and leave your kids as orphans. If neither the kids or wife see your remains, they still grow up without their father, and they'll all be needing therapy between their mother being a wreck and all of them wondering if they were part of the reason why you did it. Their mother won't exactly be in a good mental state to explain anything. If your kids grow up and then their father suddenly offs himself once they're taking care of themselves and are out of the house, they're going to need therapy anyway. They won't understand why it just suddenly happened. Neither will your wife, who will probably be hit the hardest. If your depressive condition is a genetic one, a parental suicide would almost definitely trigger it in your kids if they have it too. Look, I don't like doing it, but not many people will flat out say this kind of stuff. They'll just tell you the same boring repetitive crap such as it won't stop the problem, it's a permanent solution to a temporary problem, you'll be leaving people behind that miss you and don't understand why, etc. When someone is a bit more morbidly detailed, your logical brain tends to temporarily overrule the part that is drowning in misery for long enough that you actually go get the help you've known that you've needed for years. Realize that what you actually want is not death, but for the misery in your head to stop. That realization helped me immensely. Good luck. It sucks to go through it, but it is worth it in the end. And to the people, especially those who have never had major depression, That think I'm a callous asshole for saying all this. Go ahead with the down votes. That I've grown to hate her. There's a point where you realize that being together is more of an obligation than a want, and that you've changed who you were to be there, and can never return. Anyway, still have your choices at whatever age, once you're crystal clear of their consequences. She visits her family across the country twice a year for a full week. I book that same time off work and don't tell her. I just spend the time getting drunk and high and play video games. It's literally the only time I can relax.